next, a professor and author who says it doesn't matter how you got into school, whether it was through affirmative action or your dad's name on a building. Everyone takes the same test to get out, no matter how you got in. We'll hear from him after the break. My next guest, Dr. Dibinga, is a senior professional lecturer with focus on peace, human rights, and cultural relations at American University, D.C., and the author of Lies About Black People: How to Combat Racist Stereotypes and Why It Matters. Now, he could not disagree more with Daniel and Betsy.
I guess we can't teach why Native Americans shed tears on that trail. I guess we can't teach why Japanese Americans were interned in those camps and jailed. I guess we can't teach why Jews fleeing the Holocaust came to America and were forced to reverse sail. I guess we can't teach about those who had their rights stalled at Stonewall as they cried and wailed. Too many in America caught up in ignorance and denial. They'd rather have you forget history to learn about its tribulations and trials. They'd rather not teach you the history so white folks don't feel guilty. They think white kids will only see themselves as evil and filthy. But I digress, because my faith in white students is stronger than yours. I know they can handle full history and all of its flaws. They can learn the evils of some white people because those evils were defeated. And when we teach them the history, they're inspired to never repeat it. I know that white kids aged 16 to 19 can handle 16-19, even white kids in elementary and preteens, because too many students get angry when they find out the truth about America's complete history that wasn't taught in their youth.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Now,
it's an honor.
From your own personal experience, can you tell us why you think DEI is so important and works?
Well, the great activist Julian Barnes said that you take the word America and you flip the letters around, you can spell out the term I am race. There's nothing that has happened in America that race has not been a part of. Whether we're talking about housing, whether we're talking about jobs, whether we're talking about corporate access, whether we're talking about the healthcare system, which Dr. King said was probably the most racist aspect of American society, everything has been based on race. If you go back into the day and you look at other groups of diverse backgrounds, we used to use very ignorant terms like yellow to describe Asian people, red to describe Native American people. Over the years, we flipped that, started talking about Asian American and Native Americans, indigenous people. But if you notice, we kept white and black. Because the problem with whiteness is that whiteness is an idea. It's not about white people, it's about the idea of whiteness, just as the idea of blackness is a problem. And so we kept those on the books. We changed categories of whiteness over the years in order to expand whiteness. And so we have to understand that this country has always been about the complexion of connection, and it has always served to deny people opportunities based on their race. And so diversity is about what Dr. King said. He said it's about true integration is about the inclusion of power, resources, and responsibility. So it's not just about the numbers you have in your organization, it's about what's the power that they have. And that's why DEI programs work. I see that at the corporations that I speak at. I see it at the schools that I speak at. I see it at the government groups that I speak at. And this idea that...
But how did they get there? They didn't get there through a DEI program, and they don't define diversity based on skin color.
I would disagree with that. Diversity is not just about race. There's diversity of thought. There's religion, class, physical ability, which is the largest quote-unquote minority group in this country is the disabled population, who's also not represented on many of the campuses that I go to. But we get stuck on this concept of race because it has this fundamental beef between white and black. And people ultimately don't want to give up whiteness. If you look at Jane Elliott, a white scholar who was fired from school for the blue-eyed, brown-eyed test, she asked the audience of white people, how many of y'all be willing to give up being white? And none of them raised their hand. And she said, well, it's because you know that being white makes you automatically be treated better than black people, and you're not doing anything about it. That's where the problem lies. Are we going to continue to build an America where everybody can be celebrated or tolerated? That's what it really comes down to.
Let me ask you a question. This is an observation that Thomas Sowell made that I'm just curious if you agree with, that the free market provides a clear incentive not to discriminate according to race.
Mm-hmm. This market isn't free.
That's not what I asked you.
I disagree with what he said. I would agree if you actually had a free market, which we do not in the United States. Because free means everybody has access to it. Everybody has access to the same resources. We live in a society where we fund our schools based off of taxpayers' dollars. So the poorest schools get the poorest resources, the richer schools get the best resources. What's free about that? We continue to create a cycle of poverty.
But his point is that if you're racist and you hire whites that are not as productive, intelligent, and sharp because you don't want to hire a black candidate who is smart, sharp, productive, in the long run, they're not going to be competitive and they're going to lose out.
But is that not the history of America? I mean, this was a country that at one point had a sign saying no blacks or Irish need apply because Irish people were not considered part of whiteness, right? And so look at Wall Street. I mean, there's a history of people only choosing to employ white people. And that's why in a society that's browning, in a world that's becoming smaller, the ability to compete is not there. And so my thing is for people who feel threatened because they've always had access to everything from black women's bodies to the companies and the organizations and the places that they lived and occupied, equality is going to look like oppression.
I want to thank all of my guests tonight. We'll see you next time, and I hope you guys will come back and we can pick this conversation up where we left it. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.